people who belong to the museum. We have brought the PS for museums for the next conversation so that now City can finally feel covered.
Among the dinosaurs.
Yes.
I've just been called an artifact.
We have space.
Yes, space.
Is a good sport.
City?
Yes.
Sasa hii ni mambo yako tutaongelea.
Tunaunda.
The Principal Secretary for Culture, the Arts and Heritage and CT is called UMMI BASHIR. She's our next guest. PS, good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me this morning in the studio.
Karibu sana.
Asante
Welcome to
sana.
the hot seat of the Situation Room once again. You haven't been here this year, so Happy New Year.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year.
Yes, we must always do that.
Yes.
So, City, very many years ago, your classmate, no, not your classmate, your herdsmate from Swatini came up with a proverb.
Yes, he did. He wasn't alone. They agreed on this one.
I agree. You and them,
Yes.
you created a proverb.
Yes.
So please give the PS. The proverbs this week, PS, are from Swatini, the kingdom.
Yes.
And today's proverb, City,
A poor man is hungry after eating.
a poor man is hungry after eating. What's your interpretation?
A poor man is hungry after eating.
Yes.
You cannot satisfy a hungry poor man. So no matter how many times you feed him or how much you feed him, he can never be satisfied. But if you feed him the right content, the right nutritious meals, I think he will be satisfied. So this morning I'm here to ensure that the nation gets the nutrition that it deserves from our art, our culture, and our heritage.
The last time you were here, you were the PS for Culture and Heritage.
Yeah.
The arts were not part of it. Now the arts are part of it. Why is that?
Yeah. So there was a new executive order late last year, and arts was brought back home. Why I'm saying back home, because arts has always been together with culture and heritage. So when we came in back in 2022, arts was taken to the Ministry of Sports, Youth, and it was called Youth, Arts and Sports. So now, originally culture was in that ministry, and culture and arts were always together, plus heritage. Then I think we realized that culture cannot be far away from arts, because when you talk about arts, you cannot implement a culture without arts, and the expression of culture is through arts. So finally, late last year, we got back arts, and we're working with the artists. We are working with our museums in conjunction with the libraries. So arts has now come with libraries. It has come with Kekobo, that is the copyright board. It has come with Kenya Cultural Center. And so you see, Kenya Cultural Center was the theater, basically, was in another ministry, while culture and heritage was in another ministry, which was tourism, wildlife, and heritage. So we're happy arts is back. Yeah.
So now you have the Kenya Cultural Center, you have the Bomas of Kenya, and
Yes.
the other cultural spaces.
Yes, we have.
And you have the other areas that look at our heritage, the museums.
Yeah, heroes.
And heroes. Who are those heroes?
Who are those heroes? Now, these are our heroes since even before independence. Our heroes who fought through the Mau Mau, our heroes who are the sports heroes, the marathoners. You can even be a hero, Eric, yourself.
I think I am.
Yeah.
Actually, the Heroes Act supports that, whereby under Schedule 4 of the Act, you'll find that there's specific, like spiritual heroes. So a certain priest, a pastor, a mufti or a sheikh can be a hero, depending on how they're carrying themselves, how they conduct their services, etc. And the heroes that we have are, of course, like the late Kiptum, who we awarded actually as government last year during Mashujaa Day, and may his soul rest in peace. But we do recognize our heroes. So we have a whole saga, semi-autonomous government agency that deals specifically with our heroes, and it's run by a CEO. A board is functional, and what we do is recognize our heroes, award them, and support them even financially as per the Act. So the heroes working in tandem and in conjunction with the National Museum of Kenya. And even when you go to the Uhuru Gardens, you will find that there's a place specifically, it's called the Heroes Corner, Heroes Square rather. And we have all our heroes and written on that wall. So once Uhuru Gardens is open, I'm sure you guys will go and see and experience it. So, yeah.
Looking forward to that. Also, the last time you were here now talking about heritage, we were talking about the return of some artifacts.
Yes.
To the community that you took the artifacts to in Kilifi. Was it in Kilifi County?
It was in Kilifi County.
Yes.
So that is what we call the restitution and reparation of artifacts. So what do we do at NMK? Our work is basically to ensure that the objects, even if they're skulls, human remains that are out there, the objects that are in other museums, be it British Museum, be it Germany, be in the States, that we bring back this our assets that belong to us. We have many things that were stolen during pre-independence and the early 19th century, and people who are here took our things with them and proudly are displaying them in their museums up to date. So we recently ratified a UNESCO convention called the 1970 Convention, which deals with the reparation of artifacts, the illegal, the artifacts and the objects that are stolen and taken to other museums. Last year we brought back 85 vigangos. Vigangos are basically sacred human objects that are used to identify with a spiritual body that has left us. This is usually in the Kaya forest by the Kilifi, by the Giriamas. I'm sure you know that. And
the Digos.
And the Digos, yes. So you see, when this was stolen and taken to America, they felt misplaced and displaced. You see, they're not used to winter.
Our spirits, ancestors were just already.
So they needed to come back, and that's why we pushed for it. And thank God, the Americans gave some of this back to us. So we're still fighting for more. There's the Pokomo drum. There's the Kiti Chaenzi, which was stolen, and all these are proudly, as I say, displayed in museums. So we are currently working with the Germans to see how we can reparate some of these artifacts. They have many skulls that they collected in Lamu very many years ago. And you see, this was in the Witu Kingdom. There was some sort of war conflict, and they went with these skulls. So now they are asking for conversation where they can give us back these skulls after many years.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talk about the preservation of culture, and if we can stay there a little bit, Umi, because, that's obviously one of the things that you're tasked to do. Preservation of culture means then being able to hold on to certain artifacts, and then being able to even teach future generations about where they are actually from. So this conversation that we have, or that Kenya has today with the UK, with the United States, with Germany, and all of these other people who came and just took as they like. What's really where it is now? Is it kind of like, okay, well, let's give you some of the things that maybe people don't come to our museums to look at that often, but we're still going to keep some of the star objects? Where is the truthful conversation today?
Well, first of all, restitution is not a walk in the park. It is a conversation that has been going on for many years. For instance, the British are adamant when it comes to giving back what belongs to us as Kenyans and Africa in general. And we have tried to visit the British Museum and see how we can get this back. But you see, it's a multifaceted approach to a solution which we need as a country. So we're working together with the MFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and through, of course, the diplomats and the ambassadors that they have across the globe, whereby we can start this conversation from there. So it's there's so much that can be done through paperwork and writing letters and emails and visits. But at the end of the day, it's not a conversation we can have in the boardroom. It's a conversation where we are bringing about the archives of the British, the archives and the libraries of the British in conjunction with the museums, and their acts clearly do not support reparation and restitution of artifacts. Their act is very adamant whereby this belong here. And for instance, just about 23rd, I think about a week ago, Ghana was told that they will be loaned their artifacts and their objects, and then they can give them back to the British. There's a conversation where, there's some sort of neo-colonialism, and you cannot just go into the museums, pick these artifacts and leave. It has to be a diplomatic conversation, some sort of foreign policy conversation. So that's where we are right now. And the drums that were confiscated, the Pokomo drums, the Kiti Chaenzi that I'm talking about, these are products and objects that are displayed and making money for museums. And
none of that is ever repatriated to Kenya.
No, they still proudly displayed.
At the UN level, there's even an agency called UNESCO that talks about promoting and preserving culture and recognizing culture.
Yes.
Right? I think NATCOM is under your department, isn't it?
Yes.
The national...
Yeah, in conjunction with the education.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Are you telling UNESCO that, we need to have this conversation at UN level where we are not discussing about whether these things belong to Ghana or to Kenya or to Tanzania or not?
Yeah.
They actually do belong to Kenya, so they need to go back to Kenya.
Yeah. So you see, this is a conversation that has been ongoing, but now the implementation part of it is taking a long time, and it's not, as I said, a walk in the park. Right. It's something that has to bring the 192 members of the UNESCO, the ones who have ratified the UNESCO Convention of 1970 that discusses these matters of reparation of artifacts and restitution. So when you bring, for instance, the British and tell them, listen, we want our artifacts back, they're not, of course, going to give you back because, one, they're scared of litigation. They're going to take them to court. You're going to demand for something, So what guarantee is there that you're not going to ask for, to be compensated? And when you say you're not going to compensate, when you get these artifacts back, who are you going to give this to? For instance, the Vigangos, we had to look for these family members. We had to look for this community in the Kaya forest. When you get the skulls back from Germany, you have to do DNA. Who does this belong to? Where are we taking this? Not just to take them and place them in the museum. Some can go to the museum, but others have to go to the communities that they belong to. So this is a conversation we've been having with UNESCO in France. And we as Kenya have a seat at the World Heritage Committee. It's a serious committee. And we have never actually, for the first time last year, around November, is when we got a seat at that table. You see, now, this is a conversation now we're beginning to have as a country, because the whole of Africa has been having it, restitution, reparation of artifacts. But at the end of it all, how practical is this? And when we're given this, are we going to place them in the museums? Do we have spaces in the museums that we want to place them in? Do the community want these Vigangos back? Do the community want the skulls back? And why were the skulls taken in the first place? So you have to sensitize, make the community understand why you're getting this back. And as a country, it will be a big win for us, because this is something that has been tried over and over again. The archives in Britain, for instance, have specifically blocked out certain content in documents where you cannot see, is it Eric, is it who, is this city that has actually done this sort of crime by, beheading or taking this body from here. So when you go there and visit, I've been there, visited, and there's so much content that is blocked out, and it's hard to get to the bottom of it. And again, they have to amend their act, they have to change their laws. And tell me, why should I do that in your favor? How is that helping me as that country?
Which is why they should be made to. You see, if they will not do it voluntarily, they ought to be made to do so by a body in which they belong. UNESCO, the United Nations and such.
Yeah.
And the World Heritage Council and such.
Yeah.
Because it cannot be a negotiation that because we took this, then we start putting in those stumbling blocks. So if we give this to you, are you going to take them to the community? You have to show us that you're actually going to take them.
Yeah.
It's none of your business. They belong to Kenya. The people of Kenya shall decide.
Yeah. The man-eaters, for instance, of Savo, who you know the story of, and they're right now, they're displayed in the Field Museum in Chicago. And they're not theirs, but they've been theirs, and they've been there for a very long time. Yeah. So tell me why I should give you back your objects, and how you're going to use them. Are you going to display them? Are you going to bury them? What do you want to do with them? It's a conversation now that needs diplomacy. You can't just go and start that, saying, give us back. So there has to be some sort of multifaceted approach where we involve not just the State Department of Culture, the Ministry of Gender, Culture and Arts and Heritage, but also Ministry of Foreign Affairs and a whole array of different state departments that.
And what's it going to take to have that done? I feel that, even as these conversations are happening, because not just Kenya. I mean, I think of Nigeria and how they took the Festac mask and how they took things from the Bight of Benin and all kinds of things that they've done. And I think the conversation probably needs to step up a little bit beyond a suggestion of, can you please give us back our thing? No, I mean, can it escalate to demand as opposed to a negotiation? Because it's almost as though it's, please give us back this thing that you took forcefully from us. Because Kenya is a sovereign state recognized by the United Nations, and at some point was even, call it what you want, non-veto member fine of the same Security Council of the same United Nations, for which there is a body that works in this same sector.
Yeah, but you see now, the thing is, we had never ratified this convention. So there's no, you're going to have a conversation where you are not even part of that conversation. You are part of that conversation externally. But now, late last year, upon ratification of this convention, since 1970, we've never ratified. And I think this is now the time for implementing and walking that talk that we've been having for many years about begging and politely asking to have these artifacts and objects back. That has come to an end because we have a president in place right now, His Excellency, who is saying, no, listen, we are not going to sit and have this conversation and hide behind the closed doors. No, we are going to ask for these things back. So first things first, have we ratified that convention? No. Have we ratified right now in 2022? Yes, we have. So you see, that is at least it's a first step for us as government. And I am very positive that very soon we'll be having our artifacts back. Because, for instance, the conversation in Ghana right now is we're loaning you back your objects. It's ridiculous because these objects belong to us as Ghanaians. It belongs to us as a people. We are a sovereign country. So why is it that you are deciding that you will just give us for a matter of time and then give us back?
No, it's okay. You can actually take it and then let me see how you come and take it back after the loan.
But I have to ask this question, even as I'm listening to all this. These are clearly important artifacts. And even when they took them, did they take everything?
No, they didn't take everything.
Yes. Now, where I'm going with this is, somehow because they've been out there, people have valued them. We've seen the value of these artifacts in a way that we would perhaps not have if they were not out there. Now, do we place a value on things we have? I'm not going to go into the 15th century.
The ones that remained.
Yes, and even not the ones that remained, even right here and now. How do we preserve things that we consider to be important? And how do we maintain those things that we preserve? Because I'm calling it, yes, the desecration and the manner in which those things were taken, yes, they had no right. They simply took them because they felt they had the might and they could do so. But we've learned something about the value. Now we can see the value. If it wasn't valuable, we would not be demanding back. How is it that we don't demand the people who were taken as slaves be brought back? Because they were taken forcefully. Well, they're all dead, so they're not really there. But why then don't we open our doors widely and say, as the president has done, and say, so long as you come from this continent, don't worry. So long as even there's a thimble of blood that connects you with this continent, you can come back. What am I saying? There are lessons learned, and the story of repatriation is a good one, but there's an even better story of how we preserve what we have, because it isn't as though these things that are important ceased to exist once they were taken. Over years, we have developed and we have others. So the preservation of these things, given that we've learned that these things are valuable, how are we working on that?
That's a good question. This whole conversation of welcome back home and Kenya being the home of human origins, it did not just come out of there. It came about after His Excellency and the government as a whole realized, listen, we are sitting on a gold mine, where in Turkana, we have tools the first man used here in Kenya. And we have the Turkana boy existing here in Kenya. We have the Turkana boy, yes, the original Turkana boy. We are the only country in the whole world that has this. What is this Turkana boy? Turkana boy is almost completed fossil that was found in Turkana, and we have it in our safe. We have locked it in a vault here in MK, and there's no way you can get to it. You cannot even see it. What you can see displayed in our exhibitions are casts and custom made for countries that even buy and purchase from us. You see, we have different exhibitions and different museums, and that is why we're coming up with a science park in Turkana that will now showcase all these assets that we're saying we have, and we're going to lock them up, and you can only see them from a distance. After realizing, listen, these things are making money to other people in other museums in other countries, so it's about time we came up with a park that drives the narrative of when you come back home, you go and see this amazing science park that has all these artifacts displayed, and you see it's not for free. Researchers still come to us as a country. We make money out of this of these fossils and artifacts that we have in place, where we have researchers coming across from everywhere across the globe just to come and research on a specific skull, on a specific object. And you see, it's not everywhere that you find these stone tools. It's not everywhere that you find these artifacts. But as a country, yes, there's a place where we are not doing very well in matters safeguarding and protecting these artifacts and objects that we have, for instance, in the museum. There is no room that is conducive enough to safeguard and put and display these objects. And when we say we want artifacts back, okay, we are given back. What are you going to do with them? Are you going to make the same money or more money by displaying the same in the British Museum if displayed here at the NMK? So, of course, we have to be objective and think outside the box, because there's always been the narrative of we have this asset, we are rich, we home of human origins, but at the end of the day, will it rake in more resources for us being here or there? But at the end of the day, whether it rakes more money, let me tell you, at the end of the day, they belong home. There are people who have died knowing that there are certain skulls and heads of certain warriors that were not returned, and they don't know where they are. Are they in the British Museum? Were they buried? Where are they buried? And you'll find that conversation will never end, because at the end of the day, I've not buried my great-grandfather. I don't know where he is. But today, if you give him to me, I'm not going to display him in a museum. I'm going to call the community, pray for him, and bury him. So we have potential as a country of raking in more money, bringing in more tourists that we currently have, if we open that science park. And this is a massive, massive project that we're having, we're planning as government.
Like you've said, the Turkana boy, the very many stone tools and items that were used that are in Turkana and elsewhere that have been discovered, even those historical sites that we read about in books, but children don't even go to visit these places. People don't even know. Think of a place that you studied in school called before.
Growing up in Nakuru, there was Hyrax Hill.
Hyrax Hill.
And then, since you traveled to Nakuru, there was Kariandusi. You see now, most people don't even know that almost every county that they live in, there is a national monument. It's a place.
It's like a prehistoric site.
There are 195 in total. There are many. But most people don't even know they exist.
And if you go to those places, will you actually find something that makes you feel, oh my goodness, I've actually come to a place? Or are you going to find?
No, the ones I've been to, yes. I mean, you may
just a sign there with National Museum.
No. Imagine we have serious exhibitions in these museums, and probably they don't have signage on the highways, but they're there. And sometimes we suffer land encroachment. You find the neighboring communities are even wanting to take that parcel of land. So we need to sensitize our own people to appreciate, first of all, these museums and the assets that are there. When you go in, they're amazing. I mean, come on, international tourists come and see these things and look at them and take pictures and post them on social media. Our own people don't seem to appreciate, our local tourists don't seem to appreciate the assets that we have. And as the National Museums of Kenya, these exhibitions are exhibitions that we are trying to revamp and also make them friendly to even the local tourists and appreciate. Because you just read about these things, and practically when you go there, like, why am I looking at a skull? Why should this skull be buried anyway? But you see, for an international tourist and a scientist and a researcher, they appreciate that. And they're like, can I have an hour with this skull? I want to research on it. See, our people will be like, no, why would you do that? So there should be some sort of appreciating our assets.
So who should do that? Is that the National Museum's job? Is it the Education Ministry's job? Who's it that should make sure that as I grow up, I studied about Kariandusi. I see it on the way at Elementaita. I see that whole Kariandusi prehistoric site. And every time I pass by them, I'm like, okay, I shall enter here. But there's nothing that makes me feel like I want to enter there.
First of all, we should inculcate patriotism in our children in schools. And we work with the Ministry of Education on ensuring that our cultures are not eroded and ensuring that our children actually appreciate the assets that we have. So the museums that you're talking about, that you've seen and read about as kids, we've all been there. We've all gone for school trips, visited these sites and monuments. And and then what am I supposed to do with this? First of all, you're supposed to appreciate the fact that no other country in the world has this kind of materials. No other country in the world has this kind of content. And if you want to become a researcher, which we should encourage, if you want to become a scientist, which we should encourage, and not just tell our children you're supposed to be a lawyer, a doctor, and you'll get more money if you're a doctor, and dead. And our children are in a time whereby they are glued to their phones, they are glued to their screens, their iPads, and reading on how Beyonce is a mentor and Jay-Z is a hero, But ourselves, as the National Museums of Kenya, and in conjunction with every other state department in this country, we are trying to see how we can make sure that patriotism is actually inculcated in our children. We're trying to see how the national anthem, and there are schools actually that don't even sing the national anthem anymore. And when we were kids, it was a must. And I'm sure there are some schools that do this, but there are others that don't. And you wonder why. You see, the erosion of culture did not just begin now. It is something that came even from independence. You're told in schools that you'll be given a disc if you speak in Kiswahili. Now imagine if you speak your mother tongue there, you're speaking in Kisomali in school. You're done, So it was encourage these children to talk English. We're still doing that today. Even at home, my kids don't speak Swahili, they don't speak Somali, they speak English. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to teach these children this language. But then when they come to school, of course, they should be encouraged that there's a session, there's a play, there's skits, there's drama where you can speak your mother tongue so that you appreciate it and don't forget it. And then you can now speak these other languages. Anyway, so us, our work in Matters Restitution also is to see, after ratifying this UNESCO Convention of 1970, for us, now what we're planning on is the State Department is coming up with a policy, because you cannot just ratify a UNESCO convention and sit. We see now how to get what we're talking about, the artifacts and objects back. And the only way we can do this if we have a policy on matters restitution and reparation of artifacts. And that is our work as the State Department of Culture, Arts and Heritage. So
is the Tomboya Museum under you? Not museum, the Tomboya statue. In the city center of Nairobi, or the Dedan Kimathi one?
Yes, it is. Yes,
those
they
ones?
are. Yes, they are.
Now, surely, do those really represent the heroes that those people are? If you look at the Tomboya statue today, you walk by there, the state it's in. Is that being fair to the hero that Tomboya is?
You see, Eric, that's what I'm talking about, sensitizing the people and appreciating patriotism and where we came from. Some people don't even know who this Tomboya is. The statue is there, okay, it's just a meeting point. Where you're in town, come to this statue, just standing under this. But you find people selling clothes, Mtumba, they just hang there, At least we have tried as a government to ensure there's a monument in place, as a statue to appreciate this hero. And that's why we have the saga called Heroes. Are
they the ones who are supposed to make sure that thing is...
That is actually NMK. But sometimes we have to work with the county governments.
Okay, but simply, those two, Dedan Kimathi, Tomboya, okay? where they are and how they're treated, who's supposed to make sure that at least people can get to sense of pride and feeling of this is Dedan Kimathi, this is Tomboya, there's a story behind him. You can feel encouraged to take your children to go there, to show them the Dedan Kimathi statue and tell them the story of that, or they can read for themselves the story of Dedan Kimathi. The tourists who come and they're going around Nairobi and they can go there and they see that Nairobi is not only selling that central point, what were we told it's called? The 0 point. The 0 point
Where all manner of things
of
meet.
where kilometers begin.
Yes,
It was done by the Muzungu because that's what they decided, that's our 0 point. But we can actually go and see the Tomboya statue.
Yeah, and not very far from that is the archives. And it's also a meeting point.
And it's
where
called archives.
if you get lost,
How many people even
10 year
know?
archives.
No, how many people even know the archives exist?
they know the building maybe, but inside they don't know what is inside.
People
Just
know that building is called archives.
If you get lost in town, you just
Meet
told
the
after
archives.
look for that big building called the archives. But you see, that's what I'm saying. We need to inculcate patriotism in our children, and that should not be done just by one state department. It's a whole government approach. And even you, Eric, when you come to, when was the last time you were at the museums with your kids?
Which museums?
This National Museum of, you don't even know where is it, Kwanza? Do you even know where it is?
Yes, Upper Hill.
Imagine.
Look at that.
Okay, I know, come on. It's on the way to Westlands. I know it is.
At least it's called museum, that whole area.
Museum Hill.
The museum
Actually,
hill.
then-
Yeah, but
Museum Hill.
Yes,
So
Upper Hill.
that's why we're working with IGRTC to see how the child in Turkana, a child in Wajir, a child in Lamu can appreciate these heroes by devolving some of these museums. The museums are there, but when a school kid comes for a trip, they come to Nairobi to the National Museum of Kenya. While there's a museum, for instance, the one that we currently devolved in Trans Nzoia, museum now that it will be under the county government, and it's sort of coming all the way. You can find everything there. That is cultural, that is your heritage, that are your heroes. And we've also come up with a way that we can work with the Ministry of Education, because you see, you as an adult, you know some of this history and you read about them, but our children currently are being pulled into some negative cultures that we never had as a society. And we are scared of, how will this kid turn out to be? But if you tell them the stories of our superheroes and heroines, Mekatilili Wamenza and Dedan Kimathi and such, you find that the children actually appreciate that. But it should start with you as a parent, because when your kid wakes up, storytelling, you are the one who's supposed to do that. You bring them to school, their work is to learn maths, English, history, yes, it's only what is written in the books. But aside from that, you spend time with your kids. Take them to the museums, take them to Karen Blixen, take them, Fort
But let's
Jesus.
go there and find something that has been well preserved, well managed. Take a child today to Gede ruins in Watamu, right? And you just go in there, walk. First of all, you're fighting off monkeys. And then you find some local guy who tells you, me, I'm a guide, I'll take you around. And you've paid the National Museum. And you walk in there, it's overgrown. Oh, this used to be a house, no proper signage. I mean, it's the basics that I'm asking about, PS. So for Gede ruins, for example, to be made to, this is a must stop if you're in Kilifi County. For Fort Jesus to be made to feel, this is a must stop, because when you go in there, you'll find a lot more information, not just things that are covered in a glass and you're walking around, but there's a lot more that you feel. If you go to the national museums and children go there, school buses are there all the time, you'll go and they'll learn a lot more. If you go to the archives, like you've said, you'll go and learn a lot more. But if it's not packaged as such, if it's packaged as an old thing, so it shall
Boring,
remain
old,
old,
archaic.
boring,
Dusty.
Yeah, it's
dusty.
for old people, yeah.
And the only guy that you find there walking in party telling you,
Ilikuwa.
But you see, we're working on that, Eric. What we're doing right now in Gede ruins and Museum Gede is a historic site. And what we're trying to do, first of all, the monkeys, they are very friendly. I don't know why you don't like monkeys. But you see, they just snatch maybe a thing or two. But then monkeys are monkeys, they are very friendly.
Yeah.
And we are renovating the whole place. The exhibitions there, if you've been there, you've found a whole construction that's going on. What's happening is we are trying to come up with a space that safeguards and showcases our heritage. So when your kids go there next time, probably in another year or so, we'll be done with the construction. So currently, we are under renovation. That is the issue. That's why you see there's nothing much going on there.
Yeah. P.S. I think that the whole government approach, one government approach, I think is fundamental. I don't know how it can be, especially with the Ministry of Education, because it is because we're talking about without a deliberate effort, we say in the next few decades, children will have no idea about the history, about the culture of Kenya. None. You mentioned some American artists, just a few, and that's who children are obsessed with today. The same America, their children in school, they are inundated with the history of the America and who their people, is it not? From the time they can say Baba, they're told who their heroes are. They're told about the Stars and the Stripes and the Star-Spangled Banner. They're told all those things from the very beginning. And so it's government working with the education sector to make sure that these people grow up with this sense of pride that's almost sickening to hear, right? But that's what must happen if we're truly going to preserve it. And I know that we'll say that, there's so many other things, there's so many balls up in the air. But if we're really going to say culture to be preserved, so you have an entire society that is behind even the government that goes towards these countries to say, give us back our things. It's not just the delegates, but you have an entire nation who understands that culture now, who is saying, you know what? You have no choice but to give it back. That's just one example. But to have a knowing and a culture that when it's time for you to take your kids somewhere, that the first place you will go is where Kenyan culture is ensconced, So what would that approach look like? I mean, don't get me started on the Ministry of Education right now and the things that they have to do. But it looks as though there would need to be that kind of deliberate effort.
Yeah, we have to be intentional, you're right. Because we keep talking about the same thing, making the changes that we need as a country, the monuments. But you see, I guarantee you that we are working very closely with the Ministry of Education. And this is not just, government alone. We need the private sector on board because when I was growing up and when you were growing up, your neighbor had every right to discipline you and put you in check because your mom or dad was not there and you're playing outside and you're doing some fishy business there. So when you're doing some monkey business, your neighbor could stand in and do that. But right now, try touching the kid of your neighbor and you're being taken to court and you're being sued. You see, it has to be something that starts from the home, from the village, from the community. And we used to say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, what was that about? It was not just crazy African sayings or Kenyan sayings that we used to have. But you see, if I'm at work right now, who is disciplining my child? Who is taking care of my child? Same for you. And if we just point fingers and say government is supposed to do, at the end of the day, yes, we will do our part. And it's a multifaceted approach where I said we need, Ministry of Education on board. We need culture on board. We need the artists on board. The artists produce so much content. They do it just on their phones and post on Twitter, on Snapchat and everything. And the kids pick from there. So if we have an organized system, some sort of strategy, and say, look, who is our end user? These children need to, what are they supposed to ingest and see? What is it that we can watch? But you as a parent, you're seeing your kid on the iPad, you have no clue what they're watching, and you're okay with it. Then you start saying, oh, the government. So it has to be something that starts in the home. And then when you come to school, we have the teachers who are instilling discipline. We have the patriotism being done. We have arts, we have drama, we have music being appreciated in schools. Now our cultures. The Constitution supports culture more than anything. The Constitution under Article 11 says that culture is our fundamental functionality, and it is our pride as a country. And what we're supposed to do is ensure that we support our cultures and safeguard them. There are negative cultures. There's FGM. There's forced child marriages. There's cattle rustling that is going crazy across our country. And these are negative cultures which, if you dare touch, you're stepping on a live wire. Because why do you want me to do a certain thing that you think is a cool culture, but on the same side, we don't want to support my cultures? So we have the Usanga initiative, for instance, where the beadwork for the women and supporting this and empowering the women is what we are doing as a State Department. These women, the indigenous communities, use this Usanga and the bead production as a sort of cash crop, because when you go to Central, you have tea, you have coffee, you have tea in Kericho and the like. But what these women have are these beads. So what we're trying to do is empower them, form them into cooperatives, and ensure that they get money in their pockets at the end of the day. Because culture is not about just dressing in such a ragged manner or and being a cake and being boring. Culture can be made cool. Another thing I'd like to mention is the national dress. We're coming up with a Kenya national dress.
Again.
No, listen, first of all. Okay. It happened, it didn't work. We were not in office.
Sorry.
And we want to make sure as a regime that this is a legacy that we leave when we leave office. And it was tried, it failed. So what we want to do is find the gaps as to why it failed before.
Okay.
So it is not a conversation that we're just going to have in a boardroom and decide, you know what, this is what you're going to wear. No. This is something that we're going to involve all the communities, everybody on the 47 counties, and artists can showcase their designs, and then we can come together. People can compete. Youth can, it's something that we can say what is a common certain design or certain colors or certain creativity that we would need to embark on a national dress, because this is something that we promised at Utamaduni Day, 10th of October last year at Bomas of Kenya, and this is something that we want to actualize as government. So we want to push for that, so that when you meet me in China, you just don't see my bracelet and say, this one is a Kenyan. You look at what I'm wearing that pulls you, and you say, she's not Ghanaian, she's not Zambian, this one is not Nigerian, she's Kenyan. So that is why we need a conversation together with our youths, together with the creative industry, and that is why we have the artists who we really respect and we really support, and we want them to walk this journey with us as government.
I hope this time around we are not going to end up with some government, one solitary, and that is going to be representative. I hope that we are going to have a multiplicity of governments that represent various regions. So when you say Kenyan, it isn't some headgear or some shirt which is a replica of some curtain material. It'll be something that represents the uniqueness of the regions that we have. I am hoping.
Yeah. So we will definitely not have one item that we say this is Kenyan, because it's not going to be possible. What I wear as a Somali and what Kikuyu wears for Arorashio and what someone wears for a Nikah festival, and these are different. But you see, we have to be creative and have some sort of, it has to have some sort of common characteristics of a national dress. So this has been tried before, but then we have different rates of passage. For instance, what you do when you have a death, a funeral, when you have a wedding, when you have a birth, different communities have different practices, what to wear, what not to wear. So we cannot say that you must all wear the same thing. And that is why it failed the first time, because they are pushing for one agenda of this. We're going to have one dress, a Kenyan dress. It's not going to work, because now you see, that's why I was saying, as government, we want all the communities to come together, showcase what you have. Tell us what you have as this, Teso. Tell us what you have as Pokomo. Tell us what you have as the Borana. Tell us what you have. So your creative, your artists, your designers come up with certain designs. And then I appreciate your design. You're from a certain community. You appreciate mine.
Yes, then we already have the national dresses.
No. You see now, what is
you
more...
You just said, you as Somali on, let's say, in all of them, in ceremonies, if you went into an event, you could tell this is a Somali, this is Somali gear, this is Kikuyu gear, this is Luo gear, this is Maasai gear.
But listen, but you see, when you wear a Maasai dress outside, a Maasai regalia, you said, this is a Maasai and he's from Kenya, because they visualize internationally that a Kenyan dress is the Maasai dress.
Yeah.
So when you dress as a Maasai, you're Kenyan. You see, but you see that's not it. We have different communities that have different clothing and attires. That's what I'm saying. To bring us together and to bring us together and to make sure that we appreciate each other's cultures and traditions. You bring what you have on board. Well, you bring what you have to the table as a designer from that particular province or that particular county. We come together and form something that, if it is seen internationally, it will be appreciated. You see, so the reason it failed before is such gaps, and that is what we are trying to do and to trying to fix moving forward. Yeah. So
the Usanga initiative, it's been running for a number of years now.
Yes.
What's the impact that what impact has it had on the local communities, on promoting that cottage industry?
Yeah. So the Usanga initiative has been there for close to 7 years now. And we have a situation where we have increased the number of women who are doing beadwork, because initially there were only 7 counties that are doing beadwork, and we have added 3 more counties late last year. Why we added 3 more counties is we saw the impact that we're having on these counties like Kajiado, Narok, whereby women are actually getting money by selling these beads. But now you see, you have hotels within the Mara who are selling the same beads at a higher price, but the woman who's at the bottom of the pyramid and sitting outside the Sekenani gate does not have market for her products. We have women who have registered. We have close to 1,000 women in the whole country who are doing beadwork and profiting from this beadwork. So what we're doing as government is coming up with a sort of marketing strategy, an application called the Sana application, whereby you in Narok or Kajiado, as a woman who does beading, can sell your products online, and I in Nairobi can purchase them. So some sort of Amazon, but which is still local. And you see, these women do so much artwork and talent. They have so much talent, but at the end of the day, it doesn't get the market that it deserves. Someone in the States wants it, but they have to travel and come all the way, or I have to ask someone to take, and it's a long process. So these women have really benefited, and they use this money from the Usanga products to educate their children. They use these products to feed their families, and what we teach them is value addition. They have the beads, but you see they're stuck in the old designs or a certain way of doing things, that this bead is this design. But when we go there and do capacity building for them and teach them that this is the trend. If you go on social media, an artist, let's say in Nigeria, wants a certain bracelet that speaks to his artwork, then you do this particular bead and it will be bought. But if you do this and you continue doing this for 10 years, you're going to get 50 shillings for the next 10 years, which is not feasible. So what we're doing is bringing these women on board and ensure that none of them is left behind. If we look at the kofia, the Lamu kofia, for instance, you find a woman there who is doing this kofia and getting 3,000 to 5,000 shillings after doing this, sewing this kofia for close to 6 months.
Wow.
But then there's a man somewhere seated in Nairobi who's going to receive this kofia and sell it for 45,000 Kenya shillings. So you find there's a discourse somewhere, and we're trying to streamline that industry and ensure that money goes to that woman who has really worked hard and deserves it. And the industry has been having a lot of push and pulls, because nobody wants to stop being a middleman or broker, because they're getting their daily bread from that.
So when is the app going live?
The app probably by June this year it will be ready, because we've worked behind the scenes for a long time, and we hope in the coming 3 or 4 months we should be up and running. It
becomes like a common app for all arts.
Yes. The carvings, the Kamba carvings, not just Usanga. You're going to have the Kisi soapstone. You're going to have the kofias themselves and the Usanga and everything. So you buy from your comfort zone here in Nairobi, you can just, from the click of a button. So that's where we're going digitally. So instead of going to Narok to buy this particular Usanga, or going to Kisii to buy a particular carving of a soapstone, you find this that you can actually be delivered for in your comfort zone.
And then it goes back to the original in terms of profits going back to
Definitely.
the
Now that's why we
creator.
have the app, because we have the cooperatives. So there are certain tags and certain numbers that this money goes directly to that artist and that creative who has done this work. And the same thing, we're trying to also streamline Kekobo, where you've had this conversation going on, of course, online, where the artists feel like they're left behind and they're forgotten. But trust you me, there's a lot of changes that are going to happen, and the money will no longer be misused or will not go elsewhere. It'll go to these artists, these singers, musicians, and this is something that has been in the works for a long time. And changing legislation is something that I believe and strongly believe once that is passed, then the CMOs will be streamlined, and then we'll have a situation where the artist will no longer be complaining of the royalties not getting to them. There's someone in the middle doing some monkey business. You see, so that will all come to an end, and I'm very positive that as government, these are the changes that we will bring.
P.S. We thank you very much for joining us. UMMI BASHIR, Principal Secretary in the State Department for Culture, the Arts and Heritage in the Ministry of Tourism, has been our guest. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow. It's 10 a.m.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.